This is episode 28 of the Animus podcast. I'm Aftermath, that's Away, that's Aries. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
We're back again without a guest because this time it actually wasn't our fault, at least not mostly, but we'll see how that all goes in the future. I don't know what I'm trying to say. This week, we're going to talk a bit about some of the news that's come out recently, including the new Dreadful Crimes trailer, which I really enjoyed, and then we're going to talk a bit about the Season Pass content, which was also announced, including Jack the Ripper, I believe. You've changed the name on the doc, so it's confusing me.
I didn't do that.
And we'll talk a bit about pre-orders, I believe. So, before that, what did you guys do this week? I played through Brotherhood, finally. Now I just need to write the review. I really enjoyed it, but my full thoughts will be up on that in a wee bit. It changed my opinions on some of the recruit systems in general. Revised opinion, I'll just throw it out there real quick. It works as a gag in Brotherhood, but probably should not extend past that. And then, this week I played Red Dead Redemption, which is just an amazing game, and it's been a long time since I last played that, and I love it a lot. It's considerably better than GTA 5. And now...
the last time I played Red Dead was when it came out.
Yeah, you should definitely revisit it. It's such a great game. And now I'm playing Red Dead's expansion, Undead Nightmare. What'd you guys do this week?
I finished Arkham Knight. Finally. Freaking finally. It was such a great game. I loved it. The plot was fantastic. I saw a couple of the twists coming a long time away. Like, I wonder who'd be in this position to really hate Batman. Gee, I wonder. But it was funny because I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, Gregory, go watch Justice League. And I'm like, Miranda, please, I need to finish playing Arkham Knight. And the thing with that game is that it's like always on the verge of ending when you get to the final act. So I'm like, I'm about to fight the Arkham Knight. I'm getting there. I'll be done with it tonight. Miranda's like, okay, you freaking better be because you need to watch Justice League. And the next day I'm like, okay, I beat the Arkham Knight, but I still need to do more stuff. And it was like another 5 days until I actually finished the game, all of which were me thinking, okay, this is the night that I finish it. And there are a couple other games where it's like always on the verge of ending. Like, what was the other game? I think maybe GTA 5 was a game I thought was like always about to end, but never really did. No, that's not it. There's another game where it perpetually felt like it was about to end, but never quite did.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't remember it, but Red Dead Redemption. It always felt like it was about to end, but it never actually ended. It's like, oh, you got the guy. Okay, go home. It's gonna end. Nope, still plenty of game left. What? It's so confusing. But still, anyway, that was really fun. Away, what did you do this week?
I got Bloodborne and started playing Bloodborne. That was actually like 2 days ago, so I haven't had it for very long. But it's awesome, and it's not like all those Souls games are supposed to be like, punishingly hard, and you have to like really figure out what you're doing and like pay attention the whole time. And I feel like I got into the rhythm of it faster than I was expecting, since I previously played a bit of Demon Souls, which is like the very first one, and just got my ass kicked and quit. But I'm having a lot of fun with Bloodborne. I beat Father Gascoigne this morning. That was good. Felt good.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there was one other thing I wanted to talk about this week before we got into the AC. There's this Kickstarter which has started, which is it's not your usual Kickstarter. It's not for a game or anything like that. I just want to plug it real quick because I think it's going to be the first ever Kickstarter that I actually contribute to and have an interest in. So there's this museum called the MADE, M-A-D-E, which is the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment. And it focuses on the preservation of games and the continuation of gaming history as a whole, which is an issue, and because of all the old games that aren't around anymore, and games, consoles becoming outdated and things like that, and we even saw that come to a head with things like PT, where we found out, and people really realized that, these developers can just take their games off the store, and people can never download it again. you can never get it unless you have it right now. And so consoles with PT on it started selling for thousands of dollars, which was a bit ridiculous at the time.
Then
but
eBay stopped. eBay like stopped that going after a while. Like
Yeah.
they're just like, you can't do that.
it was a bit silly.
No.
And so this museum is focused on that. Like, if we think about it, a lot of people compare gaming now to film in the 20s through the 40s. It's really getting to its own. It's becoming pretty widespread as an entertainment format, but it's not really like mass appeal. And it's starting to evolve and like find out where it could go as a genre and as not a genre, as a entertainment medium. Like, for example, The Last of Us is often compared to the Citizen Kane of gaming as like the seminal storytelling work. And I think that like a lot of people would try and go back and preserve all these old films, because we lost hundreds and hundreds of films in total because they were all on film reels and they were lost in fires and things like that. And if people could go back and preserve all these pieces of history that we will never see again because the only copies have been lost, then maybe they would. And so I'm just a little surprised that when a new when a new entertainment medium is here that could become as big as film and as big as books and things like that in the future, that people aren't trying to preserve it as much as I would think. And it's a bit surprising, really. And so these people are trying to preserve it. And you guys may have heard of this game. I think it's called like Charlie Brown Snowboard Adventure or something like that. And it's like super obscure. And basically there's only one copy of the game, and it's really old. And only one guy has it, and he doesn't let anyone play it. So there's this game sitting there that no one has ever played because there's only one copy and one guy has it. And I think he wants to sell it for like billions of dollars or something like that, and no one's bought it. So, because
Are we sure his name isn't Dr. Evil?
It might be. I don't know.
$1 million!
And so this the maid is trying to raise $50,000 to move to a proper, like right now they're like set up in an office building that's 100 years old and stuff like that. I definitely recommend you go check out Danny O'Dwyer's episode of GameSpot's The Point, where he discussed this. I'll find out the title real quick for you guys so you can go check that out. It was released just after the whole PT debacle, and it's titled The Fight to Preserve Dead Video Games. I definitely recommend you go check that out. And check out the Maid's Kickstarter page to find out more about how you can help. And they're always up for donations and things like that. I just think this is like really important. So, because, you know, like, what if 50, 100 years from now, you know, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids can never play AC? What if AC is lost to history? Maybe they can only play AC4 because something like this decided to preserve it.
They can relive playing AC through the magic of the Animus. Go back to a time when Assassin's Creed existed.
Perhaps. Maybe we'll be at that point by then that we can do that, in which case none of this would have mattered. But right now, we don't quite have that, and so right now this is a bit important, I feel. So definitely go check that out. Check out the Maid's Kickstarter. Alright guys, we've got a question here. Katie, aka the Cliffhangers on Twitter, asks, question for the podcast. How do you think playing the side quests as Jacob or Evie will be explained through the Animus? Did they work together on these side quests? Will there be a Jacob/melee path and an Evie/stealth path? So guys, what do you think? We know that there are certain sets of side quests where you can play as both, or either or. How do you guys think they're going to handle these?
That's a hard question.
I would say that since we know there are certain ones that are locked out to Jacob or Evie, those will be locked out and sorted. But I think the ones that overlap will be shared objectives, so Brotherhood missions. So, you know, Jacob and Evie are sitting in a room and some guy says, we need you guys to go do this. And then they go do it, and whoever one does it doesn't matter as long as it gets done. So I think that'll be mostly the, like, collect stuff to bring back to the Brotherhood because both of them will share that. Or take down this Templar because both of them will share in having achieved the goal of, you know, killing Templars. So whatever goal would overlap between them, I think just it makes sense that, you know, story-wise, you'd split it. And the things that story thematically don't make sense to split, we'll just go to one or the other.
One thing, it might be like story-based side missions, like Darwin and Dickman's bits or what have you will be locked to one character. Those might be the side missions locked to one character. And then you end up with, yeah, like Aries was saying, things like the train robberies or the carriage races or the Fight Club, stronghold takeovers, Templar executions. Those are probably doable by either, because they're probably going to be less story structured. Yeah, that's probably how I would think that's how it's going to work. Or they could just say fuck it, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
Which-
Yeah,
Walk
that
into a
could work too.
cutscene, someone's like, Jacob, I need your help, and it's Evie standing there.
Yeah, that works too.
Just giving the face of, oh, for fuck's sake. All right, so this week we got some Season Pass content announced at the Tokyo Game Show in, you guessed it, Tokyo. And the big thing that we got from that was a Jack the Ripper Season Pass trailer, which delighted about one half of the subreddit and slightly annoyed the other half, because now we have a bunch of people screaming, oh my god, guys, Jacob is Jack the Ripper, it's confirmed. We will get to that later. First off, what were you guys' thoughts on the trailer itself?
Well, I guess I'm probably like a small percentage of the subreddit that's like, well, it seems cool, but I don't like this. Shut up, Jack and what? Shut up. You're idiots. Shut up. But not that you're idiots.
Just go with the trailer,
sorry.
Colin.
You're my
Stick to the
audience.
trailer.
Yeah. I think the trailer's interesting. It's certainly, I mean, I just keep thinking like Bloodborne because it looks like Bloodborne a lot. But just like, I don't know, just like the dark atmosphere, I guess. And especially like, I don't remember if you see silhouettes of Jack in the trailer, and I think you can see in like an article that kind of breaks it down, it shows like a more detailed look at him, and he's wearing like this bandage or bag over his face with some eye holes cut out, and that is reminiscent of several of the enemies in Bloodborne. And I'm sorry, I should stop talking about Bloodborne. That was earlier.
So overall, I really liked the trailer. I thought it was kind of cool. It seems very dark and mysterious, which I believe is what they're going for there. I'm not sure how I feel about like a second dark DLC. It seems like, you know, they don't want to go for like big dark main games anymore. It's just like make the game all happy and so everyone want to buy it, even if it doesn't tell a meaningful story, and then we'll make the DLC all dark and scary, so then the people who want that get their due.
I don't know if I agree with that statement based on AC4's story being, hey, all of your friends are dead.
Yeah, but
AC4 was
AC4
like,
was advertised as a rowdy, drunken pirate party.
All right, fine, fair enough.
So we have Jack the Ripper, which we'll continue talking about in a second, and then we also got sneak peeks at the other Season Pass missions, and we also have like a broad release date schedule for this info. So we have Jack the Ripper coming in December. Then we have the Last Maharaja missions, which involve you, Jacob, hanging out with Dulip Singh, the heir to the Sikh Empire in India. And we actually met his father in Brahman. So that's...
you read Brahman.
Yeah, of course.
Which you should have, because it's great.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get.
And so that's
like a normal person.
And so after the course of Brahman, Raja's son was kicked out of India and exiled, and now he's hiding out in London and wants to reclaim his throne. And so this is where Jacob comes in to go help him do that. It seems that Syndicate is like super interconnected with India and Brahman, like nothing before. We have Henry Green being Arbaz's son. We have these missions. It's and we have like the weapon coming out of that general area out of Nepal. I forgot the name of it. What is it? Do you guys remember?
Kukri.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
Kukri.
it. It's very interesting that they've got such a connection now. I definitely expect the Kohinoor to show up now because of that connection. What do you guys think about the last Maharaja missions? What do you think they sound like?
They just sound neat. Like I said before, very early on, exotic gameplay is fun. So if we get to tool around in a 3D version of India following what eventually will be the release of Chronicles India. Oh, we don't?
No, it's
They're all
set
in London? Oh, never mind.
But it is 10 missions, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, and from what I've been seeing, they're doing a lot of. It looks like they're really doing a lot with like storytelling, even in some of the smaller missions, like Dreadful Crimes, which we'll talk about later. Just because it seems like everything is cutscened, like in the entire game, which is nice.
Yeah.
But
Now,
I feel like they're.
You
really
mentioned
trying-
that The Last Mirage sounds large because it has 10 missions, but you have to remember that, the mission's length varies incredibly. So
Oh, surely. But it reminds me of the Copernicus conspiracy DLC, which we talked about on a previous episode a couple weeks back. But it's just, there were, say, what's his name? Benedict Arnold missions. There were like 5 and it lasted maybe, an hour. So the fact that there are 10 makes me think it'll be, actually a decent length to play. Even if the missions do vary, yeah, that's like, what, 2 memory sequences, maybe 3? That's a decent amount.
It's like all of the memory sequences in Unity almost.
depending on which game we're
That's a
talking about,
joke.
though, with something like AZ3 or Brotherhood, it could be just 1 memory sequence or less. There have been sequences, I believe, where there were like 10 missions. I think there wasn't one in Rogue actually as well. So
I think those ones are like, I think the closest comparison would probably be the Da Vinci DLC in Brotherhood. There were quite a few missions in that, and most of them were pretty lengthy.
True.
And it was set within Rome, and this is still set within London. I think it's interesting. It seems like they're really focusing on, like the British Empire, as a theme in this game,
Which is great.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I guess that could be like the most tame reason why they're focusing on India is just because like at this point, India is like the other main. It's like the main British holding. I mean, they still have control of the Suez
thanks
Canal.
from New Zealand. Jeez.
No, but like the reason they have the Suez Canal is so they have a nice route to India. They have basically 3 power centers: one in London, one in Egypt with the Suez Canal, and one in
New
India.
New Zealand.
So it's really about. I mean, a lot of their empire is kind of built around keeping control of India for the next like
And New Zealand.
75 years.
Sure, Aftermath New Zealand. Feel good about yourself. But
Yes!
with Jack the Ripper, the one thing I wanted to say is there's a bit of a hoopla going on the subreddit and elsewhere about who this Jack fellow was.
Wait.
What?
I wanted to get through the rest of the season pass content before
All
we
right,
get to that.
fine.
Then we have the Streets of London pack, which is basically all the DLC content. Then we have 2 sets of gear and weapons, which are coming in November, which is interesting. And then we have a permanent XP boost, and then we have more stuff, which is coming soon.
I think some of those are. I mean, this is all the stuff in the season pass. So if you have a season pass, you get a bunch of cool stuff right off the bat just for having the season pass.
I don't actually
as long as you don't mind like accelerated XP gain.
Yeah, this is my
Can
thoughts
be
on
detrimental
it,
to some people.
I don't want the season pass on day 1 because of this. Like, I won't be getting it day 1 because I don't want an XP boost. Often times, well, a lot of people would argue with pre-order content and things like that, it's often like scooped out of the game. So a lot of the times, actually, I find that it's actually just like tacked on, and it doesn't actually fit well within the game or with the balancing of the game.
Yeah.
And so I feel this might actually like make it too overpowered, make you earn XP way too fast. Like 5% bonus is a lot.
That's one thing I learned about. It's either Saints Row the Third or Saints Row 4. Like, there's a DLC that once you installed it, it basically gives you this huge bonus to like money and reputation that you gain. And like later, because everybody was like, this is way too easy, this is not as fun, they actually patched it in so that you could turn that off. So we'll see.
Yeah, I won't be getting it day one, at least. I'm not
I
sure
mean,
if
I'll
I'll
have
be
the
getting
season
the
pass day one. If I can like avoid starting the XP boost, I'll do that. But I like having the gear. I like having fancy gear.
I'm not going to get the day one season pass at all because I don't want the gear or anything like that. I want the base stuff, and then maybe when I'm done with the game, I'll get the season pass, depending on how good the Maharaja missions are and things like that. Other than that, I'm not too sure about it.
So you're going to wait until 2016
I'm going to wait until
after...
I'm going to wait until the expansion's out, Jack the Ripper's out, to see if I
Okay.
want all of the stuff at once or just the Jack the Ripper DLC.
Okay.
Then we
yeah.
also have 2 other packs, which I've forgotten what they're called. Isn't it the Baker Street pack, which gets you geared up as Sherlock Holmes,
Oh, sweet.
and also the Steampunk
cool.
pack. You get to look
Oh.
like
Yeah, I think those are the gear and weapons that are coming in November.
Oh yeah, you're right. That'll be that.
Yeah.
Which,
Although it says plus additional content, weapons, and gear coming soon, in quotations.
yeah, which is that too. Now, Aries, please give us your thoughts on the
Okay.
Jack the Ripper
Yes.
controversy.
So there's a huge furor about who this Jack fellow is, and that, oh my god, the name Jacob and Jack are both short and start with the letter J. Holy crap. So the theory...
Well, wait.
And
no,
have
that's
the
not
first
quite
syllable.
fair. That's
No, I'm
like
going to-
saying Smith and Smythe are similar, but it's more like Jack's a shortened form of Jacob. Quite cool.
It's actually... I think it's a nickname for something else.
Name etymology aside, the idea
No,
is
no, no,
that...
I'm gonna
no,
I'm gonna look this up. You wait here.
No, I've met people whose full name is Jacob, and then you can shorten it to Jack. Of course, like it changes. Sometimes people will want to be called
Nickname.
Jake.
Here's late Middle English. Nickname for the given name John.
And actually, yeah, I've also heard it for being John as well.
Yeah.
That's
That's
I've
actually
only
also
known Jack as being for John.
John F. Kennedy was also known as John sometimes.
Yeah.
Or sorry, as Jack.
I've known people who whose full name was Jacob, and I've known some people who would choose to go as Jake for short for Jacob, or they would go for Jack as well.
I've only known Jake as the short for Jacob. But anyway, now that we've gotten past
that's
that
a
very
point.
intricate discussion on naming, the crux of the theory is people suspect that something's going to happen. There will be a feud between Jacob and Evie, which leads to him killing her and then going crazy. Or the other theory is that he was framed as Jack the Ripper. But what I think is kind of overdone about this whole thing is that it just seems odd that what would seem to be a major plot point, if it were really Jacob being Jack the Ripper, is relegated to this one DLC that will take probably
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours and be done. If
Yeah,
they're
I
making
feel
it
like-
out to be the big deal that it is, it should not be relegated to a DLC. So
Yeah,
here's
I
what
feel
I
like
think
that would
/
be-
what I'd like to see. We've had Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which was
Can we
a...
wait, Aries? Before you get on to what you'd like to see for a DLC, is that where you're heading with this?
Here's what I think it's actually going to be and why it's not going to be Jacob as Jack.
Could we insert our thoughts onto why Jacob might be Jack instead?
All right, go ahead.
I don't really think you're giving this theory enough credit for the most part. It's not just
Because I don't like it.
It's not that their names are similar. It's not just the end of it, and it's not necessarily that Jacob and Evie will have a feud which ends up killing him, which ends up him killing her or anything like that. I think it's more like we know the Shroud's in the game. That's obviously confirmed. We also know that the Shroud is known for morphing man's minds and changing them drastically and making them go completely insane. I actually have seen... So we know that Jacob enjoys having a rowdy punch around with his mates and basically killing or beating the crap out of people who deserve it. I think that he is one traumatic event, death of a sister even, and one ancient mind-warping shroud away from murdering prostitutes. I don't see why it's too much of a stretch. I'm not sure I believe or would like to see the theory myself, but I don't think this theory should be dismissed outright because I don't think it's that far out. I don't think it's that far out for Ubisoft to do either. And you said that perhaps if it was so important, why would they relegate it to a DLC? But maybe, okay, the game ends with Jacob running off into the sunset being completely nutso, and then we find out later on he later became Jack the Ripper the famous murderer 20 years later. So maybe the fact that he's Jack the Ripper isn't important, but maybe the fact that he's a complete nutso is important and is explained. Continue on with your thoughts.
Fair enough.
Can I just say, like, one of the reasons I personally don't like the theory is because, I mean, you can tell a good story with that. Like, I feel like that seems like a really over-the-top story that would be really hard to pull off and be satisfying and interesting. But the main thing is just, like, if that is true, it's like, oh my god, guys, that would be such a big twist. Not if you guys have already told me exactly what it is. I'm not interested.
Well, they haven't, though.
Anymore. No, but like...
people clicked into the dots. Even if
I
the
would be more
dots
surprised
were
now,
the size
almost,
of skyscrapers.
Like, it's just like, that is so... It's just like, since you've, like, already said, this is exactly what I think is going to happen, and this is, like, just like, Jacob becoming Jack the Ripper would have been a big twist if you guys hadn't talked about it for months in advance.
Which is why I think that, Connor, to your point, it would make more sense in the game.
And we can't forget that there's also two more parts of this theory, which I forgot to mention. One, that bag over Jack's face is in fact a shroud. And also, perhaps depleted of its energy.
Is in fact according to the theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, you can't forget that in the description for the Jack the Ripper DLC, it never actually mentions
I
Jacob
saw that.
or Evie. It says the player will help. I don't forget who it is, but some Scotland Yard officer who's very famous with hunting down Jack the Ripper. And the fact that it says specifically the player, while all other Syndicate promotional material has always said Jacob and Evie or the twins or the assassins, it just says the player. Which is interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So here's my counter harebrained theory. So when jumping off of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, we know Ubisoft has in the past experimented with crazy, kooky, off the wall, hyper fantasy, stereotyped, 80s rock and roll DLC. So when I had the pleasure of talking to Darby McDevitt in Montreal a month back, he told me about a very, very briefly thought about idea in the minds of a couple of UB devs in the process of coming up with the DLC for AC4, which was to have a super complete Pirates of the Caribbean parody fantasy, Kraken DLC, Skeleton Cruise, absolute pirate wonderland that has nothing to do with the Assassins or Templars. It's just complete pirate cliches, Treasure Island, all that stuff. And only a couple people had really been thinking of the idea. It didn't get very far in the planning phase because in the end, they decided to go with what became Freedom Cry. But that idea at least existed to do a DLC of, hey, we have this era that people have a lot of fantasies about. Let's give them those fantasies. So I think what they may be doing with Season Pass content of AC Syndicate Jack the Ripper DLC, buzzwords, is to do something similar to that. So we have this Victorian world which people have a lot of preconceived notions about, and we have these characters that have a lot of fantasies associated with them. So let's give a super balls to the wall, cliched to the max DLC that is just an absolute Victorian, murder fest, and has nothing to do with the Assassins or Templars, except in the DLC description it says threatens the existence of the Brotherhood of Assassins, but has little to do with Jacob and Evie and is its own little self-contained story arc that is just absolute Victorian fantasy. And that's why I think it would be fun, more fun that way, because it's, Jack the Ripper being crazy Jack the Ripper, over the top and ridiculous. And I'd like to see that.
But, like, I could see that happening. Although the trailer doesn't make it seem like it's going to be over the top ridiculous. It looks very serious.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because everyone thinks of, the Victorian as super dark. So it's, I guess, over the top ridiculous as in over the top super dark, gloomy, doomy, murdery, Victorian, what everyone thinks it to be. Bloodborne-y. It's very Bloodborne-y. And that's what people expect out of the Victorian era.
I don't know, like the shroud over the face already sort of reminds me of the Cthulhu vibe in Bloodborne.
Holy shit! Gotta stop bringing up Bloodborne! This is AC! God damn!
Welcome to the Bloodborne podcast, a weekly podcast focused on everything Bloodborne community news and discussion.
What was I thinking, actually?
About Bloodborne.
It does seem like, I don't know. I feel like one issue with making it, like, you know, like you told me a couple days ago, like, the fantasy, like, you know, the Blood Dragon to Syndicate, is that unless they kind of do an alternate universe kind of thing, this is still in real history, and I think that portraying real history kind of over the top like that would be sort of
Limiting.
yeah, and I feel like it would be hard to portray real history over the top, and it would probably be sort of controversial as well. I feel like
Yeah, like some people have brought up how they were wondering if Assassin's Creed could handle this kind of thing because they might offend the families and things like that of the people who died. And while I don't think that's going to happen because, like, slavery, for example, is actually a much more delicate topic nowadays, and they handle that really PC and really well. I think that if they did handle it like you just described, then we might have an issue with people not liking how they handle it.
actually the most reasonably I could see them doing that is combining both Ares and everybody else's theories into one thing. I could see that working better than just straight one way or the other. And if they did do that, I don't know. They could do, like they told us about King Washington from the beginning, like this is an alternate universe history thing. I think that would be, I don't know how they'd explain it to you without like making it seem weird, but they could make like a twist that would actually be interesting would be like, this was an alternate history caused by this piece of Eden or whatever, or something. Like, since
What if
the Shroud
Templar gets
causes...
the Shroud?
Yeah, I mean,
that would make more sense to threaten the very existence of the Brotherhood of Assassins as quoting the description that a Templar gets the Shroud of Eden.
Yeah.
Because the Templars are after it too.
One thing is, like, the Shroud definitely says, like, causes hallucinations, so you could have Jacob seemingly go nuts, and you could do that whole thing, and then the twist is Jacob stopping hallucinating, and it's still, like, 1868.
I could see that, but I feel like that's more of a, and then he woke up kind of twist, and it's not, like, I'm not sure if AC would want to go
That's
that
kind of
way.
what King Washington did.
It kind of is, but they were giving it, like, sneak peeks the whole time about what was actually going on, and they were upfront from the beginning that it was alternate reality, though, remember?
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like
this would be even, like, more like that kind of twist.
I feel like I don't know, I feel like the hints in King Washington would have been more poignant if you didn't know that initially. But that's not, I don't think that's super important. That was just like off the top of my head stuff.
I think that it's actually more likely that we're just playing as Jacob hunting down Jack the Ripper
I think
than
I
either
think
of
that's
those.
probably the most likely thing.
Although I would
I'm
prefer...
just sad we don't get to
hard to
play
feel
as
like-
Jack the Ripper. That'd be
Oh,
kind of
God,
crazy.
please.
No, I don't think I don't, like...
And it
I
does
think
definitely say,
murdering
like,
prostitutes violently is taking a step over it.
yeah,
Although,
I don't know, like, a couple months ago, like, somebody posted in, like, I guess you guys probably didn't see it, but I'm subscribed to, like, a sub called, like, history porn. It's like Earth porn, except with historical
Oh,
photos.
no, I'm on there, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, a couple months ago, probably, like, around the time we first started the podcast, there was, like, a photo of, like, one of the victims, and she was
yeah.
horribly
This
mutilated.
is another
it was,
thing. Jack the Ripper
Oh yeah,
is also well known
the murders
because
were
he...
extremely grisly. That's right. Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
forgot about that.
He's also well known because his murders were actually the first ever to use and have been involved with forensic photography. These were the first crime scenes ever taking pictures of, and so we can see these disgusting photos and have spread it around on the newspapers, which is
I don't know why I said that. That's a horrible idea. Good job, Ubisoft. Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to. I'd rather not violently murder some people for doing their job.
Well, we are playing a game called Assassin's Creed, so
But there's a difference between murdering and
There is a
violently
difference.
murdering.
There's a difference. Yeah.
If you want to violently murder somebody, I mean, there's lots of games where you can do that, like chop people in half and shit. I mean, The Witcher, you kind of do that, but that's kind of understated. But like, play Mortal Kombat, Jesus, like seriously, that is actually the game you should probably play if you really want to like horribly mutilate somebody.
Yeah.
Not that that's the only reason to play Mortal Kombat, but
I think it's one of the only reasons to play Mortal Kombat. So guys, what did you think? To wrap up on the Season Pass discussion, what did you think about the Season Pass as a whole? Do you think this is going to be a good deal? Do you think it looks better than Unity's very minimal amount of DLC for the same price?
yeah, I think so. I think at the same time, I think it's nice that they're all focusing in on this one game with all their stuff, because actually Unity probably had a similar amount of DLC, but a large chunk of that was like Chronicles China, at least in the Season Pass, because that was free, I believe, with the Season Pass.
Yeah.
But I like that they're focusing more on this one game, just because like especially with some other games, you have a much longer tail with DLC and a much more substantive tail with DLC than Assassin's Creed does, and I'm excited to have more stuff, especially the way it looks. It seems to be pretty like none of them seem like the Chemical Revolution mission in Unity that's just like go here, do a thing, go back, you're done, good job.
Yeah.
Here's some points.
I'm pleased to see that they all have cinematic and things like that, and we saw
The cutscenes are a big deal because
Yeah.
they're putting actual effort into making it look nice too.
yeah.
Just like from the trailers recently, I've really warmed up to Jacob just because they keep showing him making these really like expressive faces. Especially like he's made a couple like oh shit faces. He made like a really quizzical expression in the Darwin and Dickens trailer at Eevee. He was like,
And
I mean,
we saw Eevee making all these faces in the Dribble Crimes trailer, which we'll get to next. And so it's actually making me really excited to see all this.
yeah, I'm very excited for this.
So yeah, I think the DLC in Unity was like extremely bare, given that they're actually asking the same price for this, which is also $30, I believe.
Yeah.
And $40 for like the Arkham Knight one, which is like disturbing to me. For all that, I think this is a much better price than Unity's, but I'm still gonna be super fucking cautious because Unity's just wasn't worth $30 to me.
I'm purposefully throwing myself head in for the podcast.
Alrighty. All right. Anything else that you
Bold
want to say about
sacrifice.
the Season Pass, Jake the Ripper?
If it is Jacob, I just want it to be for a good reason, not just
Yeah.
because like, oh, there's a character who killed people. We have a character who killed people. Let's make them the same person. I just want it to be for good reason.
But
As
the
much as
Shroud
sense,
makes
I'll
people
be
go
fine.
insane. We know that already, though.
No, but like, here's the thing. As much as like I poo-poo the theory because I do think it's like right now I think it's kind of dumb. I think that it could be done really well, and if it's done well enough, like when it actually comes out, then I will totally change my tune. But like, I mean, for me, it's not so much like. I guess like it would have to be done really well the whole time. Like it would have to be not just like super cliched. However, Jacob ends up going nuts if that's true, and the later story would also have to be like. I just feel like it has the potential to be really, really dumb, but it doesn't have to be if they do it right.
Yeah, I agree. I actually kind of like the theory as a theory. I'm not sure how I'd like it, how they'd implement it, but I'm excited to find out more. I just don't think it's that outlandish of a theory, really, because we know that the Shroud makes people go insane already.
The Shroud's pretty
Question.
convincing. I'll give you that. The Shroud is pretty
I
convincing.
have a question. We
Right.
know that the Maharaja missions are in London. I mean, Whitechapel's a district in London as well, so rather than going somewhere new in this game, are we just... Because I liked previous DLC that's like, okay, go to this new area. Have fun there. So I guess we're still in London for this.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think we're even going to not even Unity is like a separate district of Paris or anything.
Maybe they'll just maybe they'll change the map a bit since it's 20 years later. I don't know. Maybe they'll add catacombs. Who knows?
Maybe it'll just become really cloudy in those 20 years, and that'll be the difference.
Really dark.
Pollution, man.
It'll go from 1 year in the main game to one night in the DLC. This next segment is PlayStation exclusive, so if you are an Xbox or PC player, please tune out now. We're going to talk about the Dreadful Crimes missions, which were just got a trailer. I mean, we've known about them for a while, but we got a trailer and some information on them. And the trailer's exciting, and the information is exciting, and people are mad because it is a PlayStation exclusive. Basically, what we've got is a trailer which shows that there is a boy called Artie, who is a major character in this DLC, which also shows us, by the way, that there are cutscenes in it, which is, again, awesome storytelling stuff. There is a Sherlock Holmes-like modification to Eagle Vision that lets you kind of... If you've seen, the Sherlock TV series, it's very much like how Sherlock's...
It's just like that, and it is awesome. Little words pop up, and it's a similar font, too, so I'm going to get into that.
So, we have Artie, and I just want to touch on real quick that we know Arthur Conan Doyle is in this DLC, and we know that he was 9 years old at the time, so I think it's safe to say that Artie is, in fact, Arthur Conan Doyle, the author.
Isn't he in Scotland at this point?
That is what I was about to get to, my dear Connor. We also know that Arthur Conan Doyle is the author of the Sherlock Holmes. I think they were originally serials, and then...
It was a serial
I don't think they were
newspaper, and then there were 4 novels, but most of them were serials. The novels came later, I think.
Okay. So, there is one issue, though, with this, in that our dear Arthur Conan Doyle, was, in fact, in Scotland at the time. So that's a little interesting. I don't know what that's about. What do you guys think?
Artie might just be a stand-in for Arthur Conan Doyle.
But we know Arthur Conan Doyle is in the DLC, though.
I think we can safely say that Artie is Arthur Conan Doyle, and they'll just take the Scotland thing as well, we're allowed to change that. I mean, in AC4, for instance, Spurgis and Cockram did die at the same time. The Queen's Steps weren't there yet. That's the liberty I think they'd be okay taking because it serves the story in a major way, and it's a very small change. It's not like they're inventing him when he wasn't alive yet. So.
Well, I mean, it is how did he get from Scotland
by suspension of disbelief?
Well,
that's how.
He's a smart kid, though. I could believe that he actually traveled down there by himself. You know, he's helping out solve murders. I think he's smart enough to travel from Scotland to London by himself, and perhaps Jacob and Evie then gave his parents an excuse so that maybe they were helping him out. Maybe he's so mesmerized.
Yeah, I'd say
by
Artie's
Penny
definitely
Dreadfuls.
Arthur Conan Doyle.
He's so mesmerized.
That has to be it.
Yeah, he's probably so mesmerized by the Penny Dreadfuls.
Because Arthur was 9 at the time.
And also, there was also this, we've seen a Penny Dreadful author actually is helping out as well. I think, I saw in there he gets murdered, but I can't be certain if I saw that right or not.
Spoilers.
It was in the trailer, Connor. Get off.
Shut up.
Fucking
Trailers always spoil. They have spoilers.
Ares is dead. We'll be right back. Now, while everyone's getting worked up about PS4 exclusive, which is a little strange, to say the least, I thought that we could discuss pre-orders and pre-order exclusive stuff, since that is also something worth getting worked up about, and it's been in the news recently with things like Deus Ex's content divided system,
which I vaguely saw.
That's what Ghost Leader, may he rest in peace, wanted to talk about.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Damn. Rip. So, a lot of people...
He's gonna feel really bad now.
a lot of people talk about how bad pre-orders are, and they never really explain it. Like, why shouldn't you pre-order? And I don't actually have an issues with pre-orders themselves as a system of selling games. I think that in some situations even it could be a business savvy choice to pre-order a game. But the issue that I have with pre-orders personally, because as I said, not a lot of people explained why they dislike pre-orders, is the content and the kind of just toxic and vicious methods that some companies will go to try and fork out more money. And of course, Square Enix's new content divider system is the perfect example of that. It's both amazingly genius. It's the smartest thing I've seen ever. Like, that's crazy smart. It's also crazy evil. It's just all around just astounding for the most part. Now, with AC, it's never really been too bad, although with AC4, I believe we marked the height of pre-order content splitting between retailers. Like, I remember that every single major retailer got a separate DLC system, and then they all came back in with the season pass.
Yeah.
Now, there's been quite a lot of discussion about this on the subreddit in past years and things like that, and there was one character who always liked to talk about how bad pre-orders were. He also was a big fan of PC Master Race. He was also a big fan of sexualizing AC characters. We won't say his name, but it does end in sandwich.
Okay.
And he was big against pre-orders for the most part. And really, he never explained himself for the most part. And I'd just like to say real quick, before we get into the main discussion, that a lot of people then were like, let's just pre-order because he doesn't want us to. And a lot of people actually did that. And they actually just pre-ordered because people asked them not to. And I'll tell you what, people who did that, you're not being rebellious, you're not being smart or witty, you're being a spiteful asshole, okay? Stop being such a dickhead. Now that I got that out of the way. Pre-orders as a whole, as I said, aren't that bad. It's just when the content gets divided and split up between consoles, between retailers, is where things get weird. And a lot of people defend retailers by saying, defend pre-orders by saying, you know, I can always just cancel my pre-order and things like that. Except
No one ever does.
you don't do that. Like, part of the psychological manipulation of pre-orders is that once you put the money down, you're invested. You will be more inclined to defend the game. You're more interested to see it through. You know,
Because you've already made the choice. That's some classic behavioral economics right there.
yeah, you've already invested. You already have put money down. You put time into it. Meanwhile, if you just wait
heart
it
into
out
it.
and put some patience in instead, and wait it out for reviews or trusted YouTubers or something like that, then you can maybe find out if it was so bad or not. Like, I think the Unity was probably the height of that, people not waiting, and in a way that all these the content and things is related to that. We're talking about hype a bit before, and really pre-orders and hype and gaming culture go hand in hand. And like, I can't think of a single other entertainment medium where pre-orders and this kind of system are as rampant as in games. I don't know how it quite started out. You know, you don't pre-order a book unless it's from your most trusted author. Like, maybe I'd pre-order the next Stephen King book because I know that he makes high quality books consistently.
I pre-order Terry Pratchett books. Of course, that is now over. Rest in peace.
You probably wouldn't pre-order a movie because that's strange. How do you know if it's going to be good? It could be the worst movie ever. Like, Aloha was full of, like, for my movie buffs out there, it was full of its great cast. A lot of people thought it was going to be great, and it was complete shit because it was written badly and directed badly. You know, you can never tell, or rarely you can tell, that just how something like a movie or a book is going to go. And it's the same with games. Unless they're, like, the most trusted person or group or company that you know, like Bethesda or Rockstar, or for some, Ubisoft, then you probably don't want to pre-order in general. Then we have this new system. There's this thing called Join the Family. And before that, we had the Unity
Spin to win.
Spin
And that
to
still
win
exists
system.
Welcome
and
to the family.
it's in Join the Family, but it's less of an upfront role.
Yeah,
and
it's less like get this or never see it again.
Yeah.
Win very rarely or fail forever.
Now
And you win once and then you fail forever.
I've taken a look around Join the Family. I was pretty against it from the start and from the beginning, just as a general thing, because I tried out Spin to Win, and I just really didn't like it. It felt kind of scummy to me that you were, like, relying on luck to get the content that you want to get. And, yeah, I didn't really like it, so I never really got into Join the Family, especially from the beginning. But I tried it out now, and, like, some people even like insulted me for claiming that the only people who would be interested in something like this were the same people who would pre-order it, which I still think is true, because pre-ordering gives you like a fuck ton of credits. I decided to take a peek around it this week because I didn't want to speak on something confidently without actually knowing about it and what it is. And so at first, I actually couldn't get on because my Uplay was set to New Zealand still, and you can't change that for some reason at all. So I had to contact Ubisoft support, which was fun. That's always fun. And I started to get on. And it took me about 3 days of trying to get on, and eventually it did. It only works about 25% of the time once I click the Join the Family button, and it sends me to it. And that's really annoying. It's just such an incredibly buggy site from the get-go, which is just not a great sign. So then I had to poke around. I've heard people say lots of good things about it, like how you put in and you do stuff to earn credits, and then you then use those credits to buy things. Well, it's not really like that at all. It's more like, I'll just take a quick look through some of these activities to gain credits. Like refer a friend, which is basically just swear at your Twitter followers that you should probably join so they can get credits, which is just annoying. I've actually unfollowed people because they did that. Watch player testimonials on IGN. Just, okay, shove advertising down my throat. Connect your Twitter. Spin to Win minigame. Answer the question what your favorite AC setting is. And then we have, so those are all the activities, which are pretty restrictive, and not all that good or fun or interesting that I would actually be interested in. And then we have the main thing, which I think most people would probably be interested in, was the rewards. And really, they aren't that good either. They are not good. People were trying to make me feel bad for not being involved with this. I'm now realizing I should probably stop hanging out with these people. And for not being involved in it, and like you feel like you're gonna miss out on this content that's there and this bonus content. But none of the content's actually that interesting. Like, we have the in-game pirate pack. Like, some of the digital stuff, perhaps, is more interesting. We have a Nighthawk gear for Eevee, which they don't even show us actual photos of. We get concept art, which isn't... I can't even tell the difference between that and her regular outfit. And we also get... And then it's just, like, a bunch of sweepstakes, none of which I'm interested in. I don't want to enter in and then hope that I'll get it, you know? I don't have an interest in, like, any of this. And then we also have things like the main themes for the games, and we have like wallpapers, but all of that's online already. Like, is anyone who's going to use this site never heard of YouTube before and won't think that the main themes are on there? I don't really know how true that is. And we have like a home theater system here. Gauntlets, things. Guys, what do you think? Have you tried out Join the Family? Have you used it much? Have you redeemed anything?
Not at all. Go ahead, McCrackaway.
I did at the beginning. It's been several months since I touched it. I don't know. I just mostly like, because at the beginning there was like very little stuff on there. It was mostly sweepstakes. So I just put stuff into like the UB Workshop stuff that's really impressive that I'm probably not going to get if I don't win anyway. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not like it costs you anything. So I was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Other than time.
Now they're putting on stuff like legacy outfits and things. That's a little scummier, but that's also like something that you don't really... It's not like your enjoyment of the game is lessened because you don't have it unless you're like really obsessive. Like, I need...
That's also plays into the psychological thing because it's just this. You'll have this lingering feeling that you're missing out on something because you didn't pre-order and get that piece of content and stuff like that, and that also then incentivizes season pass sales.
Yeah, but I mean, at least like pre-order content, you usually get like a mission or something, and this is mostly just
Cosmetics
looks slightly different.
Here are my thoughts on pre-orders in general. I haven't touched Join the Family because I honestly just don't even slightly care. But pre-orders from a business perspective are good for two reasons. One is you get some money coming in up front, which is always nice. But two, the reason that is especially good is because you can see what the interest in the game is very concretely, as opposed to people, tweeting about it or whatever. You can actually see this many people really committed to buy the game. And from what my understanding is, pre-orders are actually a big factor in what the budgeting for DLC can be in certain cases. So the more pre-orders a game gets, the more funding goes to DLC, which is why when the debut trailer drops, there's always like, oh hey, by the way, pre-order right now, even though there's nothing about the game besides here's this one trailer. I think pre-ordering was more useful back then than it is now for a consumer, because now every game store is going to have the games you want, because it used to be that there might be a shortage, but now that's never the case. And when there's digital sales, unless your internet's completely crap, you can always get the game on day one if you really want it. And then most people even don't want to get it on day one. So from a consumer, it doesn't make the most sense, except for the rewards, which is the sticking point, because that Mercako and Aftermath, like you said, they'll just shove stuff in your face until you decide you need to pre-order it. So usually I end up pre-ordering the games because I like to get them shipped to me, since I don't like to have to go out and get stuff from the store because I come back from school and have to actually do work sometimes. But I will tend to order it in advance anyway, because I like to play it on day one, because otherwise I feel like I'm really missing out, even if it is a buggy, shitty mess like Unity was. But I don't know if I'm going to pre-order Syndicate. I think it's going to be quite good, but I don't want to be the person who's like, I'm proving a point by not pre-ordering. No, it doesn't matter. But I don't think it really, any of the stuff that you're getting promised from the pre-orders incentivizes me enough to drop down my money up front, when I should probably wait for the week one or month one patch anyway.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pre-order, I think, just so I get it day one. I'm not going to go with any specific content or anything like that, or any specific deal or package.
That's always been for me. It's just having it.
Yeah, and
so I'm excited for the game itself. I just want to play it. ASAP.
I've said it before. I play the games for the games. I don't play them for the bonus content. I don't play them for the DLC. I don't play them for any of this extra stuff. I play the games because I want to play the games. And as long as they aren't carving stuff out like you might expect, or a lot of people will try to tell you they are, and then throwing it into DLC, I don't have an issue with it for the most part. And as you mentioned, Aries, I don't think there's really a point in specifically not pre-ordering. There was several campaigns this year to stop people from doing that, and I don't know how helpful that is. I think thoughtfully and explaining it to people will, I tried to just now, instead of just saying, don't pre-order, it sucks, it's evil, will actually do more good than specifically not pre-ordering because you think pre-ordering is wrong. As I said, in some situations, it could even be a business-savvy decision to pre-order. It's not always evil. It's not this mysterious evil kind of thing. Any other thoughts on pre-ordering DLC, Join the Family?
Not enjoy the family. I will say,
there's this little red bar at the top of the screen, which just kind of, it says beta, which doesn't sit right with me, given that this is the only time we're going to see this site, and it seems like a classic case is throwing beta on there to excuse any kind of glitches that you might find, and that just seems like what they're doing with this site as well, because it's a buggy mess for the most part. And
Ubisoft, a buggy mess of a website? No.
Not going there. Not touching that. Anything else?
It might go the initiates route and morph into a stat tracker if it's really in beta.
Oh, old initiates, we hardly knew ye.
I like to think I knew it pretty well, and then it started smoking and stuff. And
Got a crippling cocaine addiction.
But I don't know. Like, if there was a game, I feel like you might be able to argue like that feels like it is lesser without pre-order DLC. It might be Syndicate, just because from what we've seen and what we've talked about, Darwin and Dickens does seem pretty substantial. So that might be something to think about. I don't know. Like, I guess, yeah, I feel like the main reason people say not to pre-order is because it can encourage like scummy marketing practices, and just, I think the main thing with Unity is like, if you feel like you're just paying people money for a game that isn't finished, and they want to encourage people to finish the game, because you know, you kind of want like games not to be gigantic buggy messes when you get them. Though I will say, like, people think that's a new problem with like pre-ordering and the ability to patch games. It's so not. Like, there are many games that from like the days before you could patch them that released really buggy and are still really buggy, and people still love them because they're games like Ocarina of Time and shit. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. There was a big push not to pre-order holiday season last year, like after all those games came out, and a lot of them were like, eh. But I think now that we're in September, that has mostly gone away. I feel like there's fewer people being like, I thought we should not pre-order. Yeah, don't pre-order. Yeah, and there's like a big comment thread like, don't pre-order. Yeah, and now we're mostly seeing comments that are like somebody will say something like in favor of pre-ordering, and then somebody will be like, what happened to not pre-ordering games? And then like the next few comments are gonna be like, well, I'm gonna pre-order this game because I'm really excited for X, X, and X, and fuck it, who cares? And I think people just don't care enough to.
Yeah, I think that the only reason to not pre-order is just like the pre-ordering itself would just continue these scummy marketing practices because, you know, it shows results and things like that. I think that's the main reason in that whole pre-ordering is evil reason not to pre-order. Other than, of course, you know, I don't know anything about the game, things like that. And for that reason, I'd probably wait till day one to get it. And a lot of the times with pre-order content, you can always get it on day one as well, because like they send out the pre-order copies, and they're often then moved over to. They also often turn into the day one copies, and they often have the code inside as well. This has been episode 28 of the Animus Island podcast. Thank you very much for joining me, Aries, Emma Krakenway.
Thank you for having us on, as you always do, because you're forced to, because we're a co-host. Also, fun fact, today is Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is what I'm doing right now, because pirates talk like normal people. The pirate accent is a Hollywood construct. The more you know.
Holy shit, I didn't think that was where you were going to go with it.
On that note, what's a pirate's favorite letter?
No!
C. It's the C. Fuck you, I know this joke.
No, you don't. Pirates were often illiterate, and thus would probably not have a favorite letter.
Holy shit, you two are masters of the anti-joke. Okay, I didn't think that was where either of you were going with that.
Joke Gary's talking about is like, it's supposed to be like, what's a pirate's favorite letter? And the response is R, and it's like, you'd think so, but actually his first love is the C.
Which was made famous, not made famous, but was seen in the classic Kenway family comics that one guy drew a year back. You guys remember those? Hate them now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay.
Good times.
This has been episode 28 of the Animus Island podcast. We didn't have a guest this week because scheduling is hard, even though I did say that it was supposed to be this week, that we were supposed to have it back. I'm a liar. And you can always just blame our guest for that, because it's always their problem. Remember. Who do we have next week? I haven't checked. Zero Region!
Yeah.
He will be here. I can trust in that, because he's a nice guy. Zero Region will be joining us next week to talk about whatever news we find, and whatever else you send to us. I think that's it. You can contact us on animusislandpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Reddit, assassinscreed.reddit.com or reddit.com/assassinscreed. We're also on Twitter, basically everywhere else. I will see you next week.